everybody. Today is Friday, June 15th, 2018. This is MMAjunkie Radio's pre-show, the show before the show. I am Goes. That's Dan Tom. In New York is Danny Okers. And in Costa Mesa, California, the ever-so-tan, gorgeous George Garcia. How's everybody doing? How's that tan, George?
Well,
you didn't look too bad the other day.
I mean,
saw Instagram.
Some of it looks all right, but some of it just looks like I just got burned, you know, not like a nice glow, I guess. I don't know.
Would you say if people looked at you, you're closer to being the extra crispy Colonel or one of those busts that gets inducted into the Hall of Fame in football? Because I've seen you be both.
Neither one. I look more like
This is our cousin Ramsey.
kind of like that old lady in Something About Mary.
Oh man, Magna, or what was her Magna?
Yeah.
What was her name? Magna, something like that.
It was like Magda.
No, Magna's from Seinfeld, right? I had a pony, that lady.
Yeah. Isn't it like
my
Magna?
brother had pony. My sister had pony. It's pretty good. Man, that neighbor was always in Mary's apartment.
She like took care of her, like her grandma, right?
Putting her feet on the couch, all over the table. And she brought Puffer, that dog. God.
That'd be a good top five
Intrusive neighbors.
top five house guests. Top five, yeah, intrusive house guests.
Okay,
for films.
Harriet from Small Wonder has got to be on there.
Okay.
The Otmonics from Alf. We're always over.
Wait, what? Yeah,
We're nosy.
That's TV. Oh, yeah, TV. It's true. TV probably has way more of them too, though.
Yeah.
Than film, because that's always like the sitcom, right? That's always a go to the well for the writers, like
Jefferson and.
Well, what about the guys on
Marcy?
Friends? The guys on Friends and the girls on Friends, depending, but mostly they were in the girls' apartment.
But does
they
that
were
one
always there?
Does that one count because they were like friends, right?
What about the guy from Office Space?
Neighbor, or?
Yeah, like nosy neighbors. Who?
What about the guy from Office Space? Did he come to the main character's apartment, or was it the other way around? He had the handlebar mustache and was always watching the porn on the TV.
I know who you're talking about, but yeah, I don't know.
Does Mr. Furley count? He was a landlord, though, huh? I know we're missing some. Marcy and Jefferson from Married with Children. They're constantly over.
If we had a top 5 TV bald guys, would Mr. Belding be team captain by default?
Balding?
Yeah.
Balding or bald?
Belding. Mr. Belding. Mr. Balding. I can't remember
in a minute.
what his real name was because they made fun of him so much it became his real name.
He sat sat right in front of me at a UFC.
Did he die shortly after like the Pat Morita story?
No. We
It
didn't kill him.
seems like this is where most of these stories go. With like 80 celebrities you guys meet, they don't last too long after they meet the Garcia brothers.
Funny thing though, because he was in front of us, and at the time there were two pretty good-looking girls that were sitting right by us.
Okay.
Coming up
And
at
my
30.
buddy Rodney was sitting right next to one of them, and we kept saying like, "Hey, invite those girls out for later," and he kept giving us this look like, "Nah, it ain't gonna happen." We were like, "Come on," you know. He was talking to her. And he just gave us this look like, shut up already. Come to find out that it was actually Gina Carano. Nobody knew who she was at the time. And she goes, oh, yeah, my boyfriend's one of those guys down there, one of the fighters. We didn't know who.
Stand by.
Oh, my God.
But, yeah, that could have gone really bad.
Wow, it really could have.
This is your captain speaking. We are making our descent into Las Vegas McCarran Airport. On behalf of our crew, we'd like to thank you for flying MMAjunkie Airlines. Now please fasten your seatbelts and put your tray tables in your upright position because the descent is going to be a little bit bumpy.
Alright, Junkie Nation, it's time to roll, baby, on MMAjunkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Goes. This is what we doing while we do it, baby. All night long, we rollin'! Yeah!
The MMAjunkie Radio revolution is upon us.
Can you dig it?
There's no escape. No escape. Through the vast frontier of cyberspace and through a sea of stars in outer space.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We've solidified our combat communications stranglehold.
We are controlling transmission.
With the use of MMAjunkie Radio and SiriusXM satellite radio technology. MMAjunkie Radio. commence transmission. Live from MMA Junkie Radio HQ in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Goes.
From the fight capital of the world, Costa Mesa, California, and New York City, New York, we are bringing you the MMA Junkie Radio Show. All four of us, the Goes, Dan Tom, Danny Olkers, myself, and good old Mike Boyle here in front of me. What's up, everybody? Friday, June 15th. Ready to end the week on a good note. Talk some MMA, talk some World Cup, talk about nosy neighbors, right, Goes? Is that what you guys were talking about on the pre-show?
Yeah, we were trying to give our list of the top nosy neighbors in movies and in television. But I think we meant more towards the television route.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So many of them there.
I think
Have you thought of any more?
The Otmonics have to be on there. Those are Alf's neighbors. Harriet from
one.
Small Wonder, she's got to be on there.
What about Tim's neighbor in Home Improvement?
Oh, but he never really came
nosy
in,
though.
right?
He was getting advice.
He gave advice, but he's like always there when they're in the backyard, like and having like an argument or somebody says something out loud. Yeah, Wilson.
Yeah, Wilson.
I guarantee that guy was on a watch list, by the way.
Yeah, he was on like house arrest. Or
Hey,
something.
Tim was watching your kids the other day.
He's always
I have a
there.
log. What's going on? Like he always knew. Like I was like, what's going?
Who else did we have? What was her name? Magda from Something About Mary.
Yeah,
She was
yeah.
very intrusive.
Yep.
And then what, George? What was the guy from the Jeffersons? The big tall guy.
Willis. Tom Willis, but they called him Willis. Yeah, but they were real good friends with the Jeffersons, so I wouldn't call them intrusive. When they were over, it wasn't to say like, so who's that guy, or what have you been doing, or nothing like that. It was more like they were invited for dinner or whatever. Well, what I mean is someone that's just kind of always wondering what's going on. Now, the Achmonics were wondering about Alf because they thought something fucking weird was going on, and something was. I mean, an alien life form lived there, right?
Yeah.
So I think they were always trying to get to it. But, you know, that was obviously part of the script. But, yeah, I bet you if we really, really thought about it, between the Facebook chat, the YouTube chat, and in the 2 hours that we have, I bet you we can come up with some really, really good ones. Nosy neighbors. But, Danny,
and Jefferson.
yours is a good one, but he never really crossed the lines, you know, like to wonder what was happening. I guess he was just always in the back, but, you know, so was Tim, and Tim would kind of open up to him. So I don't know if that one qualifies, but that's a solid neighbor, you know. I don't know. Can you think of any more?
Quagmire, if we're going animated route. I don't know if it's more of his nose he's following.
I don't think he was really nosy. He was like Peter's friend.
What about movies? Are we missing one in movies? I don't know. But I'm sure
It's
Junkie
tough.
Nation
I mean,
will
Ralph Furley was a good one on Three's Company. He was technically the landlord, but he always seemed to think something was up. You know what I mean?
What about Ned Flanders in The Simpsons?
I was just about to say that. Yeah, I thought that one was pretty good, but I don't know if he was nosy. But
you know
Homer
what?
was always telling him to go away. He would poke in the window.
I got the opposite for you guys. I'll tell you what neighbors I wish I would have from any of these. I would go to the guy from. You guys seen the movie Tremors?
Yeah.
You know the gun nut guy, Bert, I think his name is, and he makes an appearance in two.
They're doing a series now or something.
Oh man, I bet.
It's a series or a movie, but they're rebooting.
Well, I grew up on the original, and there's this guy Bert, and he's like a gun nut guy. And he's got this whole vault of guns. He's got like trucks to load all the guns. He's got ammo for the guns. He has knowledge of the gun. Like that's the guy I want as a neighbor. Like I don't trust myself with all that stuff, but if something goes down, you know, I'm making sure I'm doing nice stuff for that guy once a month, just in case the apocalypse happens.
Mr. Miyagi was a good neighbor too. You get jumped, your bike gets smashed. Homeboy just goes, I think I'll fix that for you.
But see, he goes.
I'll pick that up out of a fucking.
was he
dumpster.
nosy though?
No, I'm saying what Dan's saying. Good neighbors.
Yes and no, because
good neighbors.
I've already. I don't know. I don't want to rehash my post perversion thoughts of that movie.
There's
but
a lot of weird things. That
rings false. And I grew up. I'm Daniel San, man. I am the Karate Kid, but I grew up on that movie. But I look back on it now, and today's Viewscope. What was that old Japanese man doing with that kid? Why was he following him around and making him do house chores? What were the child labor laws in California in 1984? There's questions.
Well, the one that's worse. What is it, John Mulaney or whatever? He says. Marty McFly and Doc. That is kind of a weird pairing.
Yeah.
What the hell's going on there?
That's super weird.
Marty, come on.
Marty!
Not that one, Marty.
All right, we're on a tangent.
All right.
Sorry. But it is Friday. George, I'm not excited to, adios the show because I've only been here a couple days. But I am excited for tomorrow because that's when Peru takes the pitch. I got my Peru jersey on right now. I'm fired up. I'm going to make a lomo saltado in the morning and hope for the best.
That sounds good.
What do you think? You think they can pull it off?
Well, they're going to get crushed by France, that's for sure. And then they got Denmark, which I think is a winnable game. And then who's the last one? Do you remember?
Japan? Wait,
No.
Nippon?
I got it. Hold on. I put down a little bit of a schedule.
Was it Australia?
Just take me a second here. Yeah, I think it's. Wait a second. Hold on.
I think it's Australia.
Peru. They got France on Thursday, the 21st, the same day as PFL 2. Then they got Australia. You are correct, on the 26th, which is a Tuesday at 7 a.m. So we'll have to get to the studio early. And then you mentioned France. So that's the group right there.
Yeah, so Australia and Denmark are... Australia, they should win that game. A winnable game is Denmark, and France is going to pants them, but we'll see. You're going to get smashed by France.
And before we forget, we'll try and remember at the end, but sometimes we scramble because this show just... So many things get thrown at us, and we always try and fit the listeners in. The listeners who become callers and participants in the show, 866-522-2846. Happy Father's Day to everybody on Sunday. In case we forget, none of us four are fathers, but we know a lot of them. So I hope everybody has a great Father's Day. And if you're visiting, obviously, safe travels. Get back home safely and share some stories on Monday. You were going to say something, Danny? Go ahead.
Something weird just happened. Speaking of callers. So two people called at the exact same time. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. We're getting some calls. And I didn't recognize the numbers. A lot of people know that when I answer, a lot of times I have an idea of who it is if you call on a regular basis just by your number. Two numbers I didn't recognize. So I pick up the first one, and I go, MMAjunkie Radio. And there's a weird pause, and I'm like, maybe it's just somebody, and they're switching to their headset or something like that. And he goes, oh, fuck, man. I have the wrong number. And I was like, oh, okay. And he goes, have a great day. And then he just hung up.
What?
Was it after I said the number?
No, it was right before you said the number.
Hey, how about the Rebels? The Rebels were good neighbors. They were always over. Barney.
Back to that. Okay. Barney and Betty.
They were really close though. They were like.
Yeah, Wilma was best friends with Betty, and the other two worked together and were also great friends. So I don't know that they came over being nosy, to figure out, hey, what are they up to?
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. More the nosy route then.
I mean, yeah, I think more of the nosy route. It'll take some time, but I bet you we'll have 3 good ones where we'll all say, oh, yeah,
Do superintendents count?
Got to think about it.
Superintendents?
Hi, Super Nintendo Chalmers.
Super Nintendo. Well, it's the guy for the Three Threes company, the landlords, I should say, maybe.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? Because those are characters in some classics.
Yeah, that's what we said, Mr. Furley, but we didn't.
They live in the same building, right? So it's kind of it qualifies, right?
Anyway.
All right.
Dwayne from Oklahoma says Wilson from Home Improvement, definitely. Now, I want to say this. Dwayne also asked me, what's the vibe like in the sports book? I'm not there, Goes, but we just heard a loud roar. Somebody scored. Morocco, I believe. Not Steven, but the country of Morocco. What has been the vibe the last 2 days? I mean, it just started, and it's not like the most popular soccer countries are playing just yet, but what's it been like so far?
Day one, there was a little bit. Not much at all, though. But today there was a very large contingent from Morocco, and they all had their jerseys on and everything, and it was a good amount of people. What there was a different vibe for was on day one, a lot of people were trying to sign up for the MGM app so that they could place their bets on the overall on everything. So the
anybody can do that?
Busy.
Or you have to be in town, or I forget what the rules are. I think you have to be in Nevada, right, to make a bet through our app.
I'm not sure. I believe so, though.
Okay. All right. Well, you got to remember on the West Coast, there are games that are starting at 3 a.m., 5 a.m., 7 a.m., and 11 a.m. I don't think I've seen anything past that, because Russia is a huge country, and if I'm not mistaken, our country is obviously big, but we have 3 time zones. If I'm not mistaken, Russia has either 6 or 8. I kid you not. Now, one of them is obviously the tip of Siberia that almost, I think, comes within 20 miles of Alaska. I don't believe any games are there. But either way, I do believe some of their larger cities are around the 10 mark, 10-hour mark. So an 11 a.m. game for us is a 9 p.m. game over there. So I don't know how their prime time hours work, their television, but, you have to accommodate for that. And then obviously the biggest audience is probably South America and Europe. So I'm sure a lot of them are tailor-made for them. So, are many people going to race at 3, 5, 7 a.m. to get to the sports book in Las Vegas? Well, who knows? It may not even be racing. It might just be staying up all night. But I would say that maybe the East Coast has a better shot. Maybe there's more noontime opportunities. You cut out of work and then head for the bar. But anyway, can't wait to see how this all plays out. Should be a lot of fun. Brings the whole world together for almost 6 weeks, and then see you in 4 years. And I think I mentioned this: USA, Canada, and Mexico won a bid for 2026, and at that World Cup they'll expand to 48 teams. So
Las Vegas
it'll be even bigger. I don't know. It wasn't?
No.
Wow. They've already pitched the cities?
Yeah, they have the whole list of them, of all of them.
Wow. By then we'll have the new stadium built. I hope they change their mind.
Me too.
I mean, I guess maybe because it's summer, but it is an enclosed stadium, so it's not like the unbearable heat would be a factor. But who knows? That's still 8 years away. It was just announced the other day, and at least if LA gets something, that'd be nice. 1994 was pretty cool. It actually helped the growth of MLS soccer, which I think they expected to grow faster, but it hasn't really blown up. I mean, the United States is all about football, and then in a distant second it's basketball, and then trailing behind is baseball and hockey.
You guys are gonna hate me.
That's just the way it is.
You're gonna hate me, but I got one.
All right.
Kramer.
Oh yeah, that guy's got to be. That guy's easily top 3 shoo-in, right?
Yeah, he's got to be in there. And if you want to say that's like part of the cast, the same way
That's
we
excellent.
did with Friends, then maybe you can go with Newman.
Yeah.
But sorry about that.
All right, here we go. Eddie Haskell from Leave It to Beaver. I don't really remember that show. How about you guys?
No, I don't.
No idea.
I got the equivalent to goes in film-wise. You guys up for
Brad
some
Pitt?
Parcheesi?
Oh wait, that sounds familiar. Who is that?
Lewis from
Oh
Ghostbusters.
yeah, from Ghostbusters.
Rick Moranis.
Oh, he was the worst.
Yeah, he's a great name.
You know, he retired as an actor. So did George. Who's the guy?
I heard that. Yeah, actually, yeah.
George told me about somebody that retired. That kind of caught me off guard, but really hasn't done a movie in a long time.
Gene Hackman hasn't done a movie in 12 years.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, like,
You can't retire from acting.
I know what happened with Rick I can't say his last name.
Moranis.
Ray Romano?
The reason he retired was his wife actually died, and he retired to take care of his kids.
Oh wow!
Oh.
How long ago was that?
I can respect that.
It was like right after the Honey I Shrunk the Kids stuff. I think his wife died like right after that.
Remember, like 20 years ago?
Oh, man. Yeah, he hasn't done acting in forever.
I think George Lucas did something similar, right? Like that's why he didn't do Star Wars to raise his kids.
That's true. The only canary in the coal mine as far as that goes, guys, I've been keeping my eye on is Sean Connery, ever since the lead of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yeah.
They haven't seen him, man. He's on my celebrity death pool. I mean, I don't want him to go, but he's definitely next. All right.
Okay, Goes. Did you cheat and look at the Facebook chat?
No.
Because Ben Webster also said Kramer from Seinfeld, so I want to I'll give it to you as well. And then Marcy Darcy from Married with Children was submitted by Ricky Box.
I
What do you
said
think of
that
that
one.
one?
I said Jefferson and Marcy.
Sorry, I didn't hear that. Okay.
Sorry.
All right, we'll keep them coming, chat room.
Sorry.
We are going to have 3 guests on today's show. They'll be scattered about, so you can call in when we have those pockets. We'll try our best to let you know when it's happening, but in about 15 minutes, we get Ramsey Nijem. And then in the second hour, towards the middle to the last part, Joe Warren, and then we'll try and reconnect with Alejandra Lara. We weren't able to connect yesterday, but I was given a new number, so we'll see how it goes. And both of them are Bellator fighters. Joe Warren, got to be one of their top fighters ever. Former champion in 2 different divisions, and when they did make an attempt at a reality show. He was one of their 4 coaches, so we'll talk to him. And Alejandra Lara is headlining Bellator 201 on June 29th. Ramsey, sorry, I don't think I mentioned, he's part of the PFL regular season and playoffs that they have here in 2018. He'll be fighting next week at PFL 2 in Chicago, Illinois. All right, 866-522-2846 is the number to call in. Danny, it sounded like you wanted to say something.
Oh, I just want to say we have a new caller.
A new one. All right, what's the name?
He's Matt.
Nice.
Matt. Where are you from, man? What's up?
Hey, what's up? Hey, what's happening, guys? How you doing today?
Not bad. How are you? Where are you from, Matt?
Matt from Boston, just outside of Boston.
Finally, a good caller from Boston.
We don't get that many callers from Boston on this show.
But I mean, we have a few, but finally a really good one. You know what I mean?
All right.
Well, that guy Brian really brought down the reputation of the area, so I had to step it up a little bit.
And he spells his name with a Y. Get out of here. Bro.
Yeah, see, that's just not right. That's not
Let me bust Gozer's balls. All he said is that he's Matt from Boston. How does that determine that he's a good caller?
He's already talking.
He could all of a sudden spiral downward.
I mean, do you hear this voice? You hear this voice? I got the voice for radio. Come on, man.
It is pretty sexy. I'll give you that.
Is Dan Tom in studio today? I got a question for him, actually.
Hey, what's up, Matt? What's going on, dude?
Hey, are you still keeping up with The Ultimate Fighter this season? I remember last season you were giving like play-by-plays after each episode.
No, that wasn't me. That was actually Jason Buckamer, and he has his own show, Overhand Right Radio. You could check out. I'm sure he does recaps on a lot of the major MMA events. Shout out to Jason. No, negative. And I haven't been following this season too well, to be honest. My beat mainly has been the Dana White Contender Series, the UFCs, and then Bellator pay-per-views is my main beats right now. So George or Goes actually may be better suited for Ultimate Fighter stuff. What's up?
Yeah, just an observation I made, especially since this whole Ronda Rousey thing came out right now, her being inducted into the Hall of Fame. I was catching up on a couple episodes. There's a guy named Ricky Steele on Daniel Cormier, and you know, before the fight, they go back and do the whole where they're from, their family, blah, blah, blah. He has a little daughter that also is interested in training MMA. Something I noticed that when they were training, they put the camera on her, and she says, I want to be the next Joanna Jędrzejczyk, not the next Ronda Rousey. I thought that was kind of interesting. What do you guys think?
Dude, to be honest, even as a kid, I'm shocked they could even say the name properly. So yeah, I mean that is pretty crazy. I mean, for the longest time, that was the name, Ronda Rousey, and if we walked the sports book even today, and we grabbed 10 people, I still think more people would know the name Ronda Rousey than Joanna Jędrzejczyk. But that's just the way the sport's going, and it could just be the style, you know. I mean, Ronda's fights were pretty quick, some of them, ending by armbar, and it could just be that this little girl maybe likes the striking a little better, you know. Who knows what kind of class she was in? But if it was a judo class, maybe she would have said Ronda Rousey. But that is kind of very different.
Hey, you guys also said so yourself. You were just talking about Gina Carano and how she wasn't Gina Carano when you met her. She became Gina Carano very fast. And after that, what happened? Someone around came Ronda Rousey, and Ronda Rousey became the name kind of like Matt's talking about now. So it's young in their history.
Yeah, the name that I think take over is Cyborg. I think a lot of people, especially little girls, are gravitating there. Go ahead, George. Go ahead.
I think I also might have a explanation. I remember that episode, and I think Steele, who we had on the show, told us it's a family of martial artists that they have, right? But if you think about it, Ronda Rousey lost to Holly Holm November of 2015. We're already halfway into 2018, so we're past 2.5 years from that. That little girl, how old do you think she was? Maybe 8? I mean, I don't recall the episode too well, but what was she, 6, 7, 8? So if you take away 2.5 years from that,
I probably feel
so let's just say it was 7, right in the middle. If you take 2.5 years off that, she was 4.5, and if she just saw a lot of times as a kid, whoever you see at that moment have some sort of an athletic moment, you're like, that's me, I'm so and so. You run outside and tell your friends, I'm so and so. You know, if you hit a home run, I'm Bo Jackson. And so if we take 2.5 years from that. That girl may have wanted to be Holly Holm at that moment. But right around that time, Joanna just peeled off devastating win after devastating win. She had that catchy nickname, Joanna Champion. And as popular as Ronda was, a lot of her fights were like boom, in and out, boom, in and out. That was it. And Joanna had like 25-minute classics in the sense that she was just dominant for So there was a lot of time to see her and see her greatness, I guess. So that could be it, So if even before then, I think she beat Betch Correia like in August of 2015. So now we're almost on 3 years. It could just be that's what it was. It's just she barely missed that window that Ronda had, Matt.
That's a good observation.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Right on, man. All right, well, thanks for calling in. Appreciate it. Good question.
All right, no problem. Thanks, guys. Bye.
All right, we'll see it.
That's how it's done in Boston.
Can you believe that, guys? Almost 3 years since she waxed Betch Correia, which would have been her last win, and then we know Holm took her head off, and that was November of 2015. Then she took most of 2016 off until the very end, and then that's when Amanda Nunes beat her up. It was right at the end of December of 2016, so over a year. And remember, it was silence from Ronda Rousey. No TV, no radio. Well, minus, I think, an appearance on Ellen's show, I believe, and maybe one other. I think there was some interviews with Ramona Shelburne from ESPN, but that was in print form. And so there was no Ronda then, and so now another ass-kicking. In 2017, we obviously didn't see anything, and now only in 2018 did she finally debut as, in WWE. But by then, I think Joanna had kind of become the one that a lot of girls probably aspired to be. Plus, man, Ronda, as popular as she was at the end, remember she was also heel for a minute. So even if the little girl maybe wanted to be a Ronda fan, all of a sudden she sees her flipping off Misha Tate or not wanting to do the handshake. And remember, she comes from a martial arts background, so they take that very serious. Yet another time when I think Ronda may have been just unappreciated. You know what I mean? She was popular in many ways, but she was a handful too.
I learned that the new generation of kids, especially females, they're starting to gravitate to that type of personality. If you look at people like Pink, Nicki Minaj, like the edgy girl. It seems like a lot of those girls at that age are starting to like that versus like, she's kind of cray now, Britney Spears, but that image that she had when she first came out, remember, the little wholesome. Yeah. It seems like now they're gravitating more to that edgy side.
Yeah.
But because what about Selena Gomez and Ariana Grande? Aren't they pretty wholesome?
Selena Gomez.
Well, wasn't Selena Gomez?
I don't know. I don't really know them too well. And then there's the other one too, Katy. What's her name?
Perry.
California Girls. Perry. Katy Perry. Mm-hmm. Same thing. I think kind of wholesome. And the only reason I know this is
half naked rolling around on bear rugs and shit.
They all are.
Yeah, she turned a corner. I thought for a while she was all right, but anyway, I was saying that only because if you look at Instagram and Twitter, at the very top are those chicks. And I think they're more wholesome, but I'm not into their music. It's just you can't avoid them. They pop on the TV or they're on social media.
I don't know that we can't say we're into Katy Perry. Didn't we spend like 2 months playing her song, making people rap to it?
Well, Aaron from... That's right. Aaron from Minneapolis brought her to us, and ever since then... Plus, she had a good Super Bowl appearance. I'll give her that.
With the Sharks?
Yeah. Except one of the Sharks was off. If you were staring at the TV, the one on the left, he was always like half a step behind. How much do you think one of those shark outfits cost? I want to be one of those sharks for Halloween one day.
They were the craze that the Halloween after the Super Bowl, so you could probably find one pretty cheap now.
Well, don't you have a dinosaur costume, Danny, or somebody did?
My drummer had one.
How much are those?
That was like $100.
That's it?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Where do I get it?
I forget where he ordered his online.
You know what I'm talking about, George? Those like dinosaur blow up things that people wear.
The T-Rex ones. Yeah.
Oh, I would love.
I bet you if I looked at them, I'd probably go, "Oh
Planet
yeah."
Fitness or something.
Yeah.
Hey, we got to go to a break, but let this marinate for a sec. Jessica Clark is one of the first that's already starting to speak as a fighter about the inclusion of Hardy, into the Ultimate Fighting Championship, who, again, we can't really say he's in, but he's in a developmental contract. And I'll tell you what, he's good enough to be in, because I seen that dude fight, and in my opinion, like if you gave him 10 fights, I could easily see him going 7-3. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe 6-4. But he looked like he had some skills. But I just wonder how, it all started on Tuesday when he won, and then there was obviously a lot of pushback and blowback on Tuesday night and Wednesday, and we've talked about it. We had some debate on it, and now on Friday I thought, just like anything else, I wonder if it's going to go away. And then I saw that article, so maybe we can talk about that at some point in the show as well, guys. But let's go to break. We got to pay some bills. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. When we come back, we'll talk to Ramsey Nijem from Professional Fighters League. PFL 2 is next Thursday, June 21st in Chicago. We'll tell you more about that when we come back.
Tell your boss to reschedule that meeting. Call your wife and tell her lunch is off. It's time for more MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Goes.
If any of you sons of bitches play fantasy sports, SiriusXM has a channel just for you. Listen to Fantasy Sports Radio to hear expert advice from top fantasy baseball and fantasy football analysts. Whether you need help setting your daily fantasy baseball lineup or you want to know who the breakout players in fantasy football will be this season, the place to be is Sirius 210, XM87, and streaming on your phone or at home on SiriusXM connected devices and speakers. All right, give me an update, guys. We got Ramsey ready to go?
Here's
Give
the
me
update.
2 seconds.
I'm
Try 'em
dumb.
again.
I have dyslexia, and I swapped two numbers. So Danny's calling right now.
Yep, it happens to the best of us, Goes. Now, Ramsey Nijem will be fighting Brian Foster at PFL 2. It takes place on June 21st, which is next Thursday, in Chicago. And the focus for this week will be 6 fights that involve the lightweight division, 6 fights that involve the light heavyweight division. Much like at PFL, there was 6 having to do with featherweight, 6 having to do with heavyweight, although, as most of you know, some stuff happened in the heavyweight division, so it didn't go down as planned, 6-6, but still, they still had most of their fight card intact, and that's the plan going here, except they've added a 13th fight. They will be featuring Kayla Harrison, who fights in the women's featherweight division. She's just kind of like in a featured spot, I guess we'll call it, not in any way part of the tournament. The tournament involves 6 different divisions, so there's 72 participants. And remember, at the end of the regular season and playoffs, 6 winners will have $1 million. $1 million checks, them big old checks that they can hold up and brag about. And I can't wait to see who winds up with it. Maybe Ramsey will be one of them. I don't know. This is a tough test with Brian Foster. All right, guys, how we look now?
Now I know the numbers right because I got his answering machine.
Yay!
One problem solved.
I don't know how we can delay this anymore. So let me tell you about Ramsey Nijem on Twitter. You can follow him because he will be on the show. The reason I know this is because he was very excited to come back. Ghost said it was a slam dunk to book him, so I'm sure we'll get him at some point at Ramsey Nijem. Guys, you want to react real quick to Jessica Clark and what she was saying earlier? I brought it up before the break. She's not feeling this whole thing with Greg Hardy, and I don't know that she'll be the last fighter that speaks up on this. I guess Derek Lewis, I take it back. Derek Lewis has kind of already spoken up. He's sharing with us on his show that he grew up in a household that had that with his mom, and I believe it was his stepfather. So he's already spoken about it, and now here's another fighter, and I don't think it'll be the last of it either.
Yeah, I was coincidentally just listening to her interview and Jessica speak on it this morning, and I'm glad she's somebody who's been outspoken about domestic abuse and for encouraging other women to speak up about it. It's a real problem that thankfully is being brought more to light these days than in the past. And like all things, whether we're talking about on the show, whether we're talking about fighters' rights, weigh-ins, Reebok, what do we often come back to? This is something that is in the fighters' court, and I believe their voices mean a lot more when they speak on it. So when they speak on it, especially if they're speaking from experience, from a good place, trying to represent the greater good, I think it's actually refreshing and good on her and good on anybody else that wants to speak out on it, especially if speaking out on it involves divulging your own personal, putting your own personal stuff out there. But I think it's important for people that might not get that perspective, that they get that perspective like, oh yeah, like that's actually really common. I can tell you with not even just fighters, as someone who's taught martial arts, a lot of the women demographic that I would teach came in there or either because of or to strengthen their chances against those kind of situations, because that's a real thing they have to deal with. It most dudes kind of just go around thinking, oh, I'm just going to see what's on, is there good action on TV or not, and flip it to that, and that's all I worry about, and that's my prerogative. Not that you're a bad person, but you don't often think about the other perspective, so I'm glad that there's people presenting that other perspective.
Yeah, yesterday we talked about a lot of people having different opinions, and we have to respect that, but what she did I thought was very brave, because Dan's right, she had to bring up her own situation in order to do that, and you have to respect her for putting herself out there like that and talking about that. And, she makes a lot of valid points. I honestly wouldn't know how to respond to her if I was a representative of the UFC. I don't know that I could formulate the type of answer that would make her understand anything, because really somebody who's been through something like that, I've never been in that situation, and that's a really, really tough pill to swallow, I think.
Yeah. If Dana White had hair, he'll be pulling it out because of this, and also weight cutting. A lot of fighters are saying it wasn't me that said I want the later weigh-ins. There's a great article of Michael Chiesa's stop at our studio, and he broke it down nicely. You know what his ideas are, and he also broke down the timeline. Look, when the later weigh-ins start at 4 p.m. local time, you have to be on weight at 1 when they're taking you to the arena, and then you sit around in the back and wait. So it's not like you're really getting too much additional time. And, you know, at least when they do weigh in from 8 to 10 a.m. local or 9 a.m. to, you know, a lot of the responsible ones that are doing it at 9, 9:05, 9:10, 9:20, and so on, they're getting up until 4 p.m. all that time to rehydrate and be able to take a nap. And they're so far ahead of the game in terms of being a better competitor. And at the end of the day, I know we want the fights, and we're losing fights at a higher rate because of the early morning weigh-in. I get that, so let's find a solution for that. But at the end of the day, despite all that, I believe we're getting better fighters and better fighter performances the following day because of those additional 6 to 8 hours of rehydration. Also, to fill in a couple quick blanks, the studio is talking about, or sorry, the chat room is talking about a few more here, and let me see if you guys are feeling it.
Okay.
Kyle's mom in South Park. Is she nosy? I don't watch South Park.
She's very nosy, but she's nobody's neighbor.
Kino from TMNT2.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
What the fuck is that?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh my god. All right. Is that person nosy?
I mean, he was nosy, but again, he wasn't nobody's neighbor. The turtles lived in a sewer.
My man, the human moron on YouTube says neighbors. Sorry to step on it just real quick. Neighbors from Married with Children. What do you guys think of that one?
This is the third time that one got brought up. That's Marcy and
all right, that's Marcy. Okay,
that's Darcy and Jefferson.
That is okay.
Yeah, all right.
How about this one? Steve Urkel. Was he a neighbor?
Yeah, I think he was their neighbor, wasn't he?
Yeah, he had the Quagmire effect too, because he also was a stalker. I mean, he was a less offensive version than Quagmire, but you know, he
was there all the time, right?
Yeah, he was. He was intrusive.
I got a really good one. But of course, people will think I'm 68 instead of 48.
Okay.
And I'll get bagged on considerably. And he's not a neighbor, so I'm breaking all kinds of rules, but I know if I say it, and I think Goes may have caught an episode or two. I know Mike Boyle, I know he'll be feeling me, because are you in the 40s yet, Mike, or no? Yeah, all right, he'll be feeling me. That Dr. Bellows on I Dream of Jeannie, he always was trying to figure out what the fuck was going on with Major Nelson and how he was able to disappear from room to room.
Yeah.
So he was always, he was obsessed with it. You know, he'd go to his general and say, General, I've witnessed this, and the general would blow him off because, of course, the genie could make, the two majors, Major Healy and Major Nelson, basically disappear from a room and reappear somewhere else. So, but that's all I can think of. I got away from TV. That's why all this Teenage Ninja Turtles and South Park and cartoons and nerd shows, I'm not really understanding them
nerd shows.
Too well. There was one other one, and I'll pitch it to you guys. And let's see. Okay, Kimmy from Full House was super nosy, according to Kate Price.
Yeah, that one was great.
Perfect. That's a really good one. We should have thought of that one.
So she wins. Kate Price wins.
Well, I mean, she's got
Dwayne Manis. Dwayne Manis from Oklahoma City says, "What about the Fonz?
Was he a neighbor?"
Yeah, well, he lived, I think, with the Cunninghams in the back, or didn't he rent out a room or something like that? I mean, I don't know if he was nosy, but he was a neighbor. DJ Zoo bringing up Mr. Furley. We brought that one up. That was a good one, Zoo. But he was also their landlord, so he had to make sure everything was intact. Update on Ramsey, guys?
We're still trying. Still trying to get
twice.
Okay, so let's go to calls then.
Yeah.
Marco from Waco. What's up, man?
Marco from Waco. Hey, what was the name of that? The tool-time. The name of that you could only see his head and his freaking eyes on top of the fence.
Yeah, he got brought up a long time ago, Marco.
Okay, no problem. What do I know? Hey, let's talk a little bit of Ronda Rousey, man. She's gonna become the new women's WWE champion this weekend, and I can get a kick out of that, man, because I'm happy that they're doing that for her. But
I'm not.
Well, I am, because I want her to freaking.
But I'm not.
Why not?
No, I just wanted to play that dumb game. I'll tell you, but I do have valid reasons. But let me let you finish the call, and then I'll tell you why. All right?
Okay, real quick. Conor yesterday did his freaking court deal, and RJ Clifford brought up, what would be a perfect time when all this gets sorted out for him to come back? I threw up Khabib and Conor September 8th, right before Canelo Triple G, just so then White can piece off Oscar de la Hoya. Peace out.
It's not a bad idea. And it's not too soon because it's just under 90 days, and I think that's a proper camp. We don't know where that pay-per-view is going to be, although I think I've narrowed it down to 3 spots. Well, I wish I could be more exact, but Mexico, Canada, which are massive countries, obviously. I wish I could give you the city. Mexico, Canada, or Vegas is where I think UFC 228 is going to be. Vegas is more about that fallback because they can always just pull it off in Vegas. And the other countries, I'm sure maybe a leading candidate would be Mexico City, and then as far as Canada, maybe, I don't know, whatever city's up, for another run. Also, Dwayne Manis also had an answer for us, but Go's also got an answer from our sportsbook director, Mike. As far as that app that you mentioned goes, it's only in-state betting, correct?
Yeah. With the approval over in New Jersey in the Borgata, you will be able to do it there, but that just hasn't worked itself out yet.
All right. Now let's go to Showtime in Tennessee. What's up, Showtime? It's yo time.
Oh, Showtime just dropped right as you were about to call him.
Guess that ain't his time.
All right.
With this legalization of gambling, we need to track down that guy from Bloodsport, the chain-smoking Asian guy taking the bets. And for one, we need to get down to the bottom of what that job entails, for one. But two, how this new law is affecting their position, at random combat sports and chicken coops and stuff all around the nation.
I've heard this argument.
Okay.
And here's what people are saying, that just because New Jersey's going to be able to do that, there are a lot of people who still appreciate using a bookie. Because if you don't have the money, you can still make the bet. Versus you can't walk into Mandalay Bay and go, hey, I'm good for 1,000. You got to take my play, right? That doesn't happen. So they don't think that it will go away completely. It will definitely affect their business a little bit, but their projections are like insane. They're stupid. They think they're gonna double what Las Vegas does, and that's just crazy.
It's true. You also get those prop lines and certain lines that a bigger, more corporate house, if you will, might not offer. Although, again, if you go back to the Bloodsport reference, there's no way you could tell that guy, hey, round 3 prop. I said round 3, not round 2. Like, how's that guy going to remember? You get in the shower with bills, but that's another story for another day.
Another thing, too, is as convenient as it sometimes may seem for those of you that think of us living in Vegas. For example, Goes and I, if we had all green lights, it's 15 minutes away where we live to get to Mandalay Bay. Remember, that's all green lights. But closer to 30 from the time you grab your keys and then, jump in the car, or leave the garage, drive, hit some red lights, go inside of the parking structure, take out the ticket, walk to the place, stand in line. That's probably closer to 30 minutes. And again, that's if everything goes smooth. So the convenience factor, of just being able to do that from home definitely will trump that. So yeah, that many. I mean, that's just another reason of many why a lot of people would still prefer to use their guy, or an offshore company wherever it may be legal. So I still think this is just a step in the direction of what'll probably be, lead to that. And I'm sure a lot of these gaming companies will just maybe become legal in the U.S. And I bet you Vegas is probably looking to find a way into how they can become one of those companies. So open their doors to everybody, not just in-state. But it takes time. All right, let's take another break then until we reset here and get Ramsey Nijem. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. Stay close. We'll be right back.
sack, but act as though they've never met. They are the brothers Garcia, Gorgeous George and Goes.
Hear your favorite sports from a different perspective on the Vegas Stats and Information Network. VSiN gives you the view from the counter on the only channel broadcasting live from Las Vegas Sportsbook. Follow the money while you follow the games on SiriusXM, Channel 204. Odds are you'll like what you hear on the Vegas Stat and Information Network. All right, here's something cool. I don't know if it's cool, but interesting. UFC 190, we referenced it earlier with Ronda Rousey against Betch Correia. Goes looked up the card, so did I. Now we know why we didn't witness it, right, Goes? We were at World Series of Fighting the night that the Diaz brothers and the rest of the 209 crew got into it with some Russians, and Jay Shields almost lost his eyes at the thumbs of Husamar Paul Harris. We had some of the best seats ever because somebody was blocking us on the journalism row, so they upgraded us. But that was an eventful night, right, Goes?
Dude, there were probably more fights and possible fights in the stands than there were in the card. Because remember, even afterwards, when you were interviewing Husamar Paul Harris, and Jake Shields came by and he started screaming at him, and then he even took his...
He threw something.
Yeah, he took the tape off of his rap and he chucked it right at Husamar in the middle of the interview, and Husamar had this look like, I want to beat the shit out of you right now, and the only thing between them were George and I, so it was getting really sketchy in the back as well.
Shields throws random stuff, doesn't he? Like half full cups of coffee, pieces of glove tape.
He'd be a really bad assassin.
I think the tape actually may have grazed my shoulder and then hit Husamar. But yeah, a lot of stuff went down that night. But look at the card. This is why Goes and I said, you know what? I think we'll skip this one, and we went to WSOF. Rousey versus Correia. Look, you can't argue. She sold pay-per-views. I get it. Casual fans are tuning in. But after that, it was Hua versus Nogueira, Rogerio Nogueira.
First fight was crazy. It was great.
That one was kind of depressing.
What, Guido Canetta versus Hugo Viana?
No, actually, that one was nice. I scored Canetti as plus 300 underdog. Played him on that card, but the second Nogueira and Shogun fight on that card. I just remember it being
that fight. Okay.
Very slogging and kind of depressing.
The first one was like
first one was great. Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Time.
But that's probably why the second one you seem a little older. Yeah. You know, on the time period this is at.
But Magny and Maya were on the undercard that night. Mm-hmm. And then they had Jessica Aguilar versus Claudia Gadelia. Yep. Bigfoot Silva versus Soa Paleli. Stefan Struve versus Big Nog. And a couple other fights. I don't know how the hell they made it on the main card. This can't be right. I don't know what I'm looking at. But, yeah, it was just one of those cards where we said, nah, let's go to WSOF. And that's what happens, man. You know, we were talking about if people have options and you don't stack the card, what are they going to do? Or if you move the price up to $65, people are going to reason, okay, you know, let's look at our options here. And sometimes people will just pull the plug, not because it's an additional $5, but because you feel insulted or you feel like someone's taking your fandom for granted. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand.
All right, so we have, I believe, located Ramsey Nijem, and we're going to get him at the top of the hour. It's going to be one right after the next. We'll still have some small pockets. If you want to call in, 866-522-2846. It's MMA Junkie Radio on a Friday, June 15th. Happy Father's Day to all those. Since we won't be seeing you or you won't be hearing from us on Sunday. Another early Happy Father's Day to everybody. I got some questions about the Junkie gathering. I think I can address some of them now. Park MGM is the old Monte Carlo. They actually have some pretty good rates for that week of the Junkie gathering. October, we basically do stuff from the 3rd to the 6th. But the 2nd, which is a Tuesday, I believe Goes was telling me that even on that day, we have quite a handful of people. So we'll probably plan some stuff there as well. But anyway, for that week, and let's just go all the way from October 1st, Monday, all the way in, the Park MGM has some really, really good rates. Some of the more competitive ones. And like I was telling Lucas, it's the nearest hotel to the T-Mobile Arena. Now, we'll probably peel off and go to the weigh-in, so that's convenient for those people. And there's also a lot of places there for drink and food in the Toshiba Plaza. But to get to our studio, all you have to do is walk across the Toshiba Plaza, which is not far, walk through the New York, which is not that bad of a hike, cross the bridge from New York to the Excalibur, and you can hop on the tram and be at Mandalay Bay. So that's actually not a bad choice if any of you want to save a little bit of dough. New York, I've never stayed there, but I have stayed at Monte Carlo, which is now Park MGM, and it's pretty cool. Last time I was there, they were doing a lot of renovations, so
I've been in one of the renovated
if they haven't
rooms. They're a lot more modern now.
If they haven't finished it, there's obviously going to be some construction, and maybe Goes and I can take a hike there next week and just see what the update is. But I mean, this thing is still about 4 months away, but it is shaping up to look pretty cool. New York, never stayed there, but it looks like it's obviously very fun place to hang out. So if the price is economical, obviously we promote it because it's part of the MGM Resorts family. Round of applause for New York. Also, Excalibur has the cheapest rates, but a lot of you just aren't feeling it. All right, and I get it. Excalibur has the cheapest rates around of all the MGM resorts, but yeah, they don't have the sexiest room. It's just a room. It's got a shower, a couple beds, and for some people, that's all they need. Just a room to pass out in, and then wash your balls in your ass the next day, and then get the hell on out and go back to the Junkie gathering. Luxor has come down. It was really heavy, but the prices have come down, and then you got Mandalay Bay and Delano. So lots of options for you for that week. All right, we're up against the top of the hour here. Goes, we have located Ramsey, and we're good to go, right?
Yes.
All right. So it'll be Ramsey Nijem, Joe Warren, and Alejandra Lara, who we will be connecting with in the second hour. Sorry, apologies there. I got distracted there. What was that on Facebook you guys just sent me? Video.
Something that you're going to shit your pants when you see it.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that threw me off a little bit.
All right.
Also, I have about 30 seconds to fill here. If you're ever watching on YouTube and we go down, sometimes it's because the website is using the channel. Like last week, for example, at UFC 225, if they're using it for the weigh-ins and all the drama that accompanied Yoel Romero, then they get the first preference there. So your other option is facebook.com/official MMA Junkie. And if you're ever on Facebook and just for whatever reason are having trouble connecting or you need to use it for something else, you have the YouTube option, youtube.com/MMA Junkie video. All right, we'll be right back after this break at the top of the second hour, so stay close. It's the MMA Junkie radio show on Sirius XM Rush 93.
swear to God, we didn't plan this.
Yeah, right.
I swear to you.
I really did. I asked him.
This was Chris Lieben's song.
Yeah.
Let it play out. It's a good song.
I
love that song.
I asked Goose what song I should start the second hour with, like 2 hours ago.
You're talking about
Ramsey just dropped. I'm gonna get him back.
call back.
Okay. Alright, here we go. It's the second hour of the MMA Junkie radio show. Chris Lieben used to walk out to Roller Coaster. That's why we played it, not because we were looking at crazy rides debuting at Magic Mountain in Valencia, California that'll make us throw up. That was just a coincidence.
Yeah.
God, that ride that goes showed me. That looks awful.
It does, doesn't it?
You're flipping. Wait, you're rotating vertically while spinning in your seat, and also, it's weird. I don't know how to describe it, but it just looks like too many things are happening to your body.
Do you think Ramsey Nijem is
I would
a
not
roller coaster guy?
Oh, fuck yeah.
You think
That guy's
so?
nutty. Yeah, he probably wants to ride it nude, too. Remember him on the reality show? That was his thing. He joins us now on MMA Junkie Radio. What's up, Ramsey?
Hey, guys. I was just saying I used to be a roller coaster guy until you get older and you get whiplash.
It's true.
You got it? What ride was it?
Dude, I don't remember. I think, I was some, fair ride. I rode it, and then I got off and threw up, and I was like, well, I think I'm too old to ride rides now.
Wow. I back in the late 80s, I went on, I think it was called Star Tours, Michael Jackson Star Tours, some bullshit
it's
like
still
that.
there.
Or maybe,
At Disneyland.
maybe it was Star Wars. And,
Star Tours.
And it was just, it just moved me around, and it gave me a head. I threw up, and it gave me a headache. It wasn't speed or a thrill ride in any way, but something about going in a horizontal or circular, it doesn't sit well with me. But as far as speed, I can handle that all right. The drops, I can handle that all right. Looking down, my old age is starting to creep me out.
So you couldn't do the teacups?
No, I couldn't do the teacups.
Oh, man. One time, Ramsey,
Yeah.
wait, I don't know if you know this, but George and I are brothers. And when I was maybe 5 or something like that, I went into one of those revolving doors at Caesar's Palace, and him and his best friend kept spinning the door, so I couldn't get out. And I had to keep up with it, and finally I had to dive out of it. But I remember I was really sick on that, too.
I think my older brother's done the exact same thing to me with his friends before, to be honest. In Vegas somewhere, too.
I love it. All right, so Ramsey, we've had a lot of fighters on from PFL, so it's going to be a similar theme with you. I think they're doing a great thing, thinking outside of the box. They're paying you fighters to fight in the regular season format, but then the playoffs, man, this thing it takes an incredible upkick because it's huge stakes. You know what I mean? This is life-changing money for all of you, and I can only imagine the things you could do with $1 million. It would really, really change your life.
Yeah, dude. I mean, that's definitely life-changing money for almost anybody out there. You can live debt-free if you're smart and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's super exciting. I think the exciting part necessarily is just the format of everything with the grand prize, because we all want a title, and a title's, awesome and stuff. But at the end of the day, what is a title supposed to represent? You're getting paid, you're the champ, you're living a good life. But then if it's not reflecting that, it's who cares if you're fighting 5 extra rounds or two extra rounds for a title, And so that's kind of why I'm super excited. Super simple format, super easy to follow. I have a lot of friends that are not necessarily fight fans, but they're sports fans that are excited for it because now they understand. They don't have to follow it every weekend to know who the champ is, you know?
Right. Did you catch the first one, and have you happened to take a look at the standings and see how it played out? There's a lot of guys that won, but some of them have 6 points, some of them have 3 points, so that could maybe alter their seedings in the next round. I think if you win and still only get the minimum 3 points, I still think you'll be eventually one of the 8 that qualifies for the quarterfinals, but still, the seeding's kind of important, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, I mean, seeding's everything. Like, people don't understand, unless you, like, grew up wrestling or doing some kind of sport where you have to do tournaments and stuff, you don't understand the importance of seeding. Like, in college wrestling, that's sometimes the seeding's who wins the national championship, you know, and it's always kind of like that. So I'm excited. I think it's exciting. The point system is super smart, gives us incentives for the finish, and it makes it more exciting. Like Andre Harris, who's a pretty well-known great wrestler who just kind of takes people down and holds them down. He had one of the more exciting fights I've seen of his because he wanted those bonus points, and you could see him like going hard for those bonus points.
Right. Ramsey, let me ask you something that you're going to get asked a lot, you know, and I'm sure you have great reasoning, but you haven't fought in a minute. And what a lot of people are going to just point to is it's not that people don't take breaks or there's injuries in the sport or some people just want to step away, but just how are you feeling? Were you able to keep in any sort of good shape, and then have you had a decent enough camp that you can shake it all off and then fight Brian Foster to the best of your ability?
Yeah, see, a lot of people don't understand that. They see my fights or whatever. They don't understand this is a lifestyle. I choose to be a fighter. Every day I wake up. So, yeah, I've had a little bit of a hiatus, but that doesn't mean every day I haven't been at the gym training, getting better. I've let my body catch up. Because when I was young, man, I was talking to you guys when I was in my early 20s, 21, fighting freaking 3-5 times a year, never letting myself actually develop my own martial art, my own skill, and I was always getting ready for the next fight. So the last couple of years, I've actually had fun training. I've gotten in better shape. I'm stronger than I've ever been. I'm lighter than I've ever been. I'm like in the low 60s, which is crazy for me this far out usually. So like everything's going really, really well. And I'm just super, super excited about getting out there and showing what I've been able to accomplish in the last couple of years. And, you know, last year I fought on the Ultimate Fighter. I know they don't really count, but there's nothing really. I mean, they're real fights, man. I fought James Krause, who's one of the top 55ers in the UFC right now, and that was like one of the toughest fights I've had up to date, and one of the most technical fights, and I think I've been on one of my better performances I've ever done on that show, and so I think I'm just excited to keep on building off that momentum.
Ramsey Nijem, our guest here on MMA Junkie Radio, who'll be fighting Brian Foster on June 21st, which is next Thursday, in the Chicago Theater in Chicago, Illinois. This is PFL 2. This is a regular season fight, which will lead them to a playoff. And then at the end of the playoff, 6 different winners from 6 different weight classes will win $1 million. All right, back to the guys in Vegas. Goes and Dan, or what do you guys have for Ramsey Nijem?
Ramsey, when the PFL got you on the line and they pitched all this to you, what was the first thing they talked about? Did they talk about the money first or the format first?
To be honest, I kind of knew about this. You know, obviously I'm in the industry, so I've known about the tournament for a long time, and I was kind of familiar with the format, and, you know, part of me was like, man, I wish I can get in that tournament, and I was kind of looking actually for a fight, because I was either way, like, I want to fight, like, I need to get a couple more fights in soon, and then Ray Safo called me out of the blue, like I was just doing some visualization stuff, and then he called me out of the blue and said, hey, you want to fight? And I was so excited and so ecstatic. I was in Whole Foods shopping, and I started crying. I was so pumped. I had to leave, and I was just like, hell yeah, I get a fight, not only in this country, but for life-changing money, which is I'm so thankful for.
You know, you had a very responsible answer when you were talking about the $1 million that are at stake. You said, you know, that can help anybody get out of debt and really set themselves up for success. But you know how we are, and we want to know, we're all human. Is there anything silly that you've thought about with that $1 million? Something that you would want to buy that maybe you've always wanted to get? Splurge a little bit. Can you give us something?
Something silly. For me, my biggest thing would be I'd love to travel, so I'll travel and probably buy a nice yard for my dogs. That'd probably be the silliest thing. A big old yard for the dogs to run around. Maybe a place that, I love animals, so I wouldn't mind buying like a little ranch thing with all these animals and just being out there and playing with them all day. And that might be silly to some people, but I don't know, I think it'd be kind of fun to be able to do that.
What kind of dog?
Give my dog the life he deserves. Miniature Yorkie.
Oh, okay.
2 of them.
2 of them. What are their names?
They're like, so, I want to give them that life. Everyone says, hey, me and my whole hood's coming up. Well, me and my whole dog pound's coming up.
What are their names?
Boo and Millie.
Nice. All right.
They're miniature Yorkies. They're tiny, tiny. You probably see them all over my Facebook.
Very cool. All right. Have you seen, I don't know if you keep up with The Ultimate Fighter, not to bring up another promotion in the middle of your interview, but there's a guy named Luis Pena, and he works for, I guess, he lives in an animal sanctuary. What's that?
What's The Ultimate Fighter? Never heard of it.
Oh, yeah. Well, I just didn't know if you kept up with the episodes, but you brought up animals, and one of the guys on this season lives in an animal sanctuary. And what you were describing almost sounded like that, so I didn't know if that's what you meant, or if you just meant, hey, a nice yard for my dogs, and that's it.
Hey, I'm just saying, it'd be an animal sanctuary, because I'll probably adopt a lot of dogs, adopt some animals. I don't know, and I have actually been keeping up on this season of The Ultimate Fighter, and Luis Pena, he's actually one of my favorite ones, because he's got the best nickname, the Violent Bob Ross. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I like it too. What other animals would you take on aside from dogs?
Sorry, say that again?
What other animals would live with you if you did have the room to accommodate other animals aside from dogs?
Well, my favorite animals are goats, and I definitely have a handful of goats. I do love some cows. I love dogs. Wow. Just basically, just be like a nice little sanctuary just for them to hang out. And I'd probably rent out my goats to let them go clean out people's yards and just feed them things, I grew up in, small town Washington. You guys have been where I'm from, Everett, Washington area. And it's super small. And, my neighbors all had goats and sheep and, horses and all that. So I'd go out there and play with them. And, that's kind of my ideal. I live out here in Utah, and that's a real easy dream to accomplish out here.
Mm-hmm. What about pigs? Pigs look like fun, right?
Yeah, they're cute as hell. I would love some pigs, but I would have a pig maybe, just to let them, one of those cute little ones that runs around and thinks it's a dog. Not a big fat one that plays in mud all day. I'm not a fan of
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Hey, you and Brian Foster, man, that's going to be a good fight. You guys have fought a lot of competition between the two of you, and I'm really, really excited about this. This is a tough first-round matchup.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty excited. They kind of I think Ray Safo did a great job matchmaking everybody to have great matchups for the first round. The playoff or the season isn't just hey, let's see who's going to get the best seeding. It's best guys are going against each other to see who actually is the #1 seed. And I'm pretty excited because I think that's kind of where me and Brian are. We're in the same situation. We both have an opportunity to be a winner of this tournament, so they're kind of seeing who deserves the higher seed. And, I definitely believe this is going to be a great fight for me. He's a great person, he's a great competitor, and he's going to be a great person to display all my new skills on.
Pretty cool to see your compadre, Steven Seiler, get a win. I know that it's obviously an individual sport, but I'm a believer in momentum, and whether it's current training partners or just people that are stay tight and root for each other, one can lift the other, you know what I mean? And he had a nice stoppage, so he got his 6 points, and I'm sure you were really, really happy for him.
Oh, I'm super excited for him. He's got the #1 seed, which is kind of awesome because the featherweight's a tough tournament. They have a lot of tough featherweights in there, and I think Steve being the #1 seed is going to really, as it's going into this next round, is going to really benefit him. And me and Steve have been training partners, friends for, 10, 12 years now, and I'm super excited. And every time he does really well, I do really well, and we kind of feed off each other. We have a good synergy. We fought on the same fight nights a bunch, and both had first-round finishes before on the same night. So I'm just excited, man. Me and Steve have been together a long time.
No doubt. Well, hey, I'm glad we were able to make it happen and catch up with you. So good luck with the rest of camp. Safe travels to Chicago, and we'll definitely be tuning in to PFL 2 on NBC Sports, 9 p.m. Eastern on next Thursday, June 21st.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate you having me on. I always appreciate being on the show, and I'm excited to showcase all my skills, man. I've been training really, really hard. I've gotten a lot better since everyone's seen me fight, and I'm only going to keep on getting better. So I'm excited to get out there.
Right on, Ramsey. We'll be tuning in. Take care.
All right. See you soon. Bye.
See ya. All right, folks. You can follow Ramsey Nijem on Twitter at Ramsey Nijem, RamseyNijem. He is a Palestinian American. Proud of it, too. He's got the same Instagram. Give him a follow. And, folks, we're going to take a quick break. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. Stay close. We'll be right back.
pat down TSA agents because they don't know where those people have been, and because they can. They are Gorgeous George and Goes, and this is MMA Junkie Radio.
Start your day with SiriusXM. Enable the SiriusXM skill on your Amazon device and then tell Alexa to set an alarm for your favorite channel, and you'll wake up to the sounds of SiriusXM. With SiriusXM and Alexa, you can get the latest sports news each morning without picking up your phone or turning on the TV. All right, our next guest comes from the world of wrestling, but man, he's had a great MMA career. Back in college, he was an All-American. And then, of course, he took his talents to the international level, becoming a world champion at the World 2006 World Wrestling Championships in China. That's a huge accomplishment. And then after representing USA Wrestling for many years, he came over to mixed martial arts. He's a two-time tournament champion at Bellator, once in the featherweight division, once in the bantamweight division, and also a former two-division world champion. Again, once in the featherweight division, once in the bantamweight division. It's the baddest man on the planet, Joe Warren. What's up, Joe? How you doing?
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. You know, it's funny because we love covering you when you're obviously either pre or post fight. You're either coming off a win or, you know, you're going into a huge fight. But this last time I was just thinking about you because I was watching The Ultimate Fighter and I noticed you were on many of the episodes there for Team Miocic. And of course, they're never really going to give you non-UFC guys some shine, but we can hear you in the background. And I'm telling you, man, I've always felt like if I was ever going to be a fighter, which I'm not close to being whatsoever, but I would want someone like you in my locker room and in my warm-up, because you fired me up just as a fan. So it was really, really cool to see you, and it just got me thinking it had been a while since we caught up with you. So anyway, how you been, brother? Everything good with you?
Yeah, good. It's good, man. Yeah, usually we talk before these fights, and I'm talking shit, and I'm violent, and now today I'm actually moving, just moved my family to Telluride, Colorado, so we're in the process of moving and in the process of figuring out these next two fights for me. I got 2 fights left on this Bellator contract. I'm trying to maybe 2 fights, retire. Just took a job with Telluride Sotheby's International. So finished my 2 fights up here in Telluride, and pretty excited about that. But the UFC, you know, the Ultimate Fighter, you know, I mean, my coach was going to coach, and Stipe was one of the coach, was the main guy, and he's such a good dude. And he asked me to come in, and that was before my last fight, right before it. So I had to go there anyways because Mark Montoya was going. And, you know, I know what these guys, I've been there. I'm there with them. I know what they've gone through and what it means to win and lose. And it's real easy to make a choice before you walk to that cage if you're going to win or lose. You know, you choose that before you get there. So, you know, a lot of, you know, when they ask me questions, it's really truthful, so they can take it to heart. And, you know, so I'm in those guys' heads. So that's why people are hearing me. But they never show you, you know, because you're a Bellator fighter.
Yeah. Well, you know, I asked a couple of the guys, because we were having the winner from every season, or sorry, from every week, come on the show, and I did ask a couple of the guys, and they definitely said they felt your presence, not just when you guys would be training, but on fight night. So I wanted you to know that, because it meant a lot to this younger generation that looks up to a lot of you, especially the ones that have had successes like yourself.
Well, I appreciate that. You know, I mean, I like those guys. Everybody starts from somewhere, you know what I mean? So, you know, you want to be a world champ, you got to start from the ground up, and that's what these guys are doing. There's some really good, tough guys. I'm sure we'll see those guys' names in the future.
Joe, will you, in one way or another, ever take the realms of a head coaching gig in MMA at all? I think he would do really, really well there. You know what I mean? Because I think he would drive everyone. I think so. I'm kind of comparing you to DC a little bit. DC's done a really, really good job because he again he's pushed himself mind and body in wrestling, and I think a lot of people connect with him. I think you could do the same thing. You think you'll ever be a head coach?
Yeah, you know, that's something I've always thought I would be. I mean, I was supposed to take the head Greco-Roman Olympic team coaching job about 3 years ago. It was me and Matt Lindland, and they didn't believe that I would retire from fighting. So I didn't take that, and then, you know, I don't feel the love, really, in the rooms. You know, I have so much to give back. That's what I kind of feel like I should be giving back. And I'm not sure, you know. I mean, we're coming out to Kelly right now here and trying to maybe even give up athletics, which is kind of strange for me. I always thought I'd be teaching somebody wrestling, you know, like, that's where I do the best. You know, I always thought, I was supposed to be doing that. But no, it's always open to me. I mean, I believe I'm a great coach. Why? Because I'm the best coachable athlete there is, and I understand. You know, I'm a realist, so I understand what it means to get into a cage or get into a competition. So it's easy for me to help those guys. So I would love to do that someday. I think. You know, I think I have so much to give back, and I haven't done that yet.
Does the same go for MMA, or is it just more about wrestling if you were ever to become a coach?
No, I mean, I believe my MMA skills are, are a step different. There's like wrestling skills, right? Yeah, MMA wrestling is way different than normal wrestling. And the way that, you know, I believe I perfected that. So I believe with fighting, I understand how to stay safe and move forward. The things that I don't have like crazy grasp on with finishing submissions, I usually go out to Henzo and have them teach me. So yeah, I mean, I just believe I could be a good positive influence for some kids someday. You know, we'll see what happens. I still got 2 fights in me. I don't think I don't feel as old as I am, but everyone else keeps telling me, so we'll see what happens.
I definitely don't want to send you out to pasture and imply that you are done, because you just finished telling us you do have 2 fights left, and you know, obviously I think you've prepared yourself for athletics for if you wanted to go into your mid-40s. Honestly, just the skill set of wrestling alone can put you in any fight. But what I did want to ask you is, in MMA, I noticed things just kind of happen. I guess sometimes it's seasonally or yearly or whatever. And the one thing that seems to be a big thing, at least for some of the announcers, is when coaches are being calm. And they're being very calm with their fighters, and they're not yelling. But I'm a little bit more old school. I prefer the coaches that are yelling and motivating that way. What would you say is the reasoning for why you prefer that environment? You've either someone firing you up that way, or you firing up someone that way, versus someone being calm with you and just trying to take that more more calm approach.
You know, it's each his own. I hate to say this, like it's the athlete. You know, I'm in your face. I want to hear someone. If I'm doing something wrong, I'd like to hear it. Like I told you, I'm the most coachable athlete. Meaning, if Mark Montoya yells something out, I hear him and instantly do it without deciding in my mind if it's right or wrong. I know that he's the one that's there for a situation to make those decisions. I kind of like. You hear me. If you're out there and you're not doing something right, I'm going to get in your ear so you can hear it. You're in that cage. When you're in that situation, time's flying. You're not sure what's happening. That's why you have a coach on the outside of that cage to watch and see things that you can't see. And I mean, I personally, it's a time and a place for each one. If you're not getting the job done, if you need to push and win this round, you're not doing it, you're going to hear me. I'm going to be in your ear. I'm going to be telling you what to do. You know, a lot of the coaches will stay quiet until you get to the corner. Now, my coach, Mark Montoya, he'll only yell technique that's mandatory at the time. And then when I get back to the corner, the first 30 seconds, he says nothing. We stay completely calm. I get my heart rate down. Then the second 30 seconds is all technique, is all coaching. So then once my heart rate drops down and I can breathe and mentally focus, then he breaks into coaching. And then the problem, if you're out for fighting and you're not getting the job done, between me and you, I want to hear somebody yelling at me.
That's what I'm saying, man. There's too many passive fighters out there. There's too many passive camps out there. And when we're hearing these split decisions, everyone's looking at each other like, what? What the hell happened? And I'm thinking, I'll tell you what happened. There wasn't any communication. There wasn't urgency.
You're damn right.
And no one gave you a nice slap on the face or at least an earful to let you know what reality was, you know. So I'm hoping that the sport kind of comes back to that a little.
Realist. Yeah, that's what I mean about being a realist, you know. Let's be realistic. This is a fight. We're in a cage. You know, all these game plans that you have get thrown out the window when it's punched in the face, you know what I mean? So you need to be able to refocus and push. And I just think that, yeah, everybody's different like we talked about, but I think that a lot of the coaches that are real passive, I feel like some of the coaches, it kind of is numbing to them. They've done it so long. They're in a corner every damn week. It's not like their deal. It's their job. And I said this, I remember this, my first fight, I'm in Dream. And I had Dan Henderson and Heath Sims with me. And those guys have been doing this for so long that it was just another day for them. You know, I'm stressed out, I'm scared. I'm like, what is going on, right? They didn't even help me wrap my hands or put a cup on. I'm about to walk out into the cage. They punch me in the nuts. I don't have a cup on, and I've never wrapped my hands in my life, you know? And they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, no one told me to wrap my hands. I never wore a cup in my life. You know, like, so they just didn't. They're like, oh, we're real sorry about that. It's numbing to a lot of the coaches. They've done it for so long. They need to understand that these athletes, it's their life. You know, if you don't come to work that day and didn't have your coffee, and your guy gets beat because you're not in his head, in his ear, that's your fault as much as the other guys. You know, you can bring a horse to water, you can't make it drink. We've heard that many times, but that's bullshit. You know, if I bring that horse and shove its head in the water, it's going to drink. So if that's the way, that's kind of how I see it. You're not listening to me. You're not listening to me, and I'm in your head, and I'm saying, make it real to you, you're going to take that and say, he's right, and pull the trigger. Or tell me, I say this all the time, you know, that mirror in the locker room is your biggest enemy. You stare yourself in the mirror and try to lie to yourself. You can't do that, okay? You can't lie to your own self. So then you get back to the locker room, you look yourself in the mirror and you're like, oh, I should have fought out of this position a little harder, you know, and now you have doubts and regret. You know, and that's not how I fight. I pull the trigger. I leave everything in the cage or on the mat. You know, when I'm done, I should win every time. Or they screw me like the last fight, and they screw me. The problem with me is I'm just old, and Bellator doesn't want me having belts anymore.
And let me say, Joe Warren, coming out of the gate, had the toughest 10 fights in the history of mixed martial arts. He had Chase Beebe, former WEC champion, Kid Yamamoto, who was one of the best Japanese fighters ever, Bibiano Fernandez, who's the current one championship bantamweight champ. We'll skip Eric Marriott, although he's a tough dude. Georgie Karakami was a former featherweight champion at World Series of Fighting. Patricio Pitbull Frady is a former champion, or current champion right now, two-time champion at Bellator. Joe Soto, same thing. He's worn gold. Marcos Galvao, former bantamweight champ. Alexis Villa, Cuban wrestling standout for many years. And then Pat Curran was the 10th fight, and he was a former Bellator champion as well. So you definitely got no gifts coming out of the gate to start off your career, man.
Well, that was kind of, you know, when I never planned on fighting. I was snowboarding in Aspen. He got a call from Dan Henderson. He's like, Joe, I got a fight for you. I'm like, I don't fight. He's like, you just have a baby. You have to make money. And I'm like, what? So he goes, we got you like 30 grand to fly to Japan. And I'm like, what? And when? He's like, in 8 days. I'm like, all right, so I just jump on a plane, fly to Temecula. Okay, I'm there for 3 days and we go to Japan. That's all the training I had, okay? So this is funny. My best friend, Damien Logan, is in the locker room with us. We're about to go out, right? And for my first fight against Chase. And I'm like, so my buddy goes, you know what jiu-jitsu is? I'm like, no. And he's like, this guy submitted his last 8 guys. I'm like, what? So I'm like, Dan, what's jiu-jitsu? He's like, don't worry about it. I'm like, don't worry about it. I'm like, this guy submitted his last 8 guys. Are like, shut up, and they start looking on their phone. So I'm like, they're like, don't take them to the ground. I'm like, what else do I do? You know, it's like, you know, so it was just kind of like, they put some lead boots on me, threw me in the deep end. You know, I was fighting for my life most of those fights. Not technically, I wasn't there. So it took me a few years to keep fighting. Every day, we never watched tape because the guys were so nasty. My coaches didn't want me to see it.
Damn, that's crazy. All right, let me send it over to the guys in Vegas. What do you guys got for Joe Warren?
Joe, that whole part about learning the jiu-jitsu and learning some of the striking, was it something you had to do to just kind of learn to survive and to complement your wrestling, or did you eventually fall in love with those arts as well?
Yeah, see, I'm the opposite of a wrestler. You know, most wrestlers, once we start striking, we believe we're very overconfident people. So we believe we're the best strikers in the world once we start striking because we have a good coach that knows how to hold mitts. So it sounds really good, you know? So we feel like we can stand in front of anyone. But I was a realist. I understood. I'm standing in front of a guy that's a 5-time world champ striker. there's no way I'm going to play that game with him, you know. So I was using a lot of my striking for a short offense to close the distance so I could get to those strikes. I mean, so I could get to those takedowns. So I wouldn't eat 2 or 3 punches coming in. But you know what I'm saying. The game plan gets thrown out the window. So I'd like to say I use my striking for strictly takedowns. But you're going to be a world champ these days. You got to be well-rounded in everything. So I'm more anti-jiu-jitsu. I think Kenzo and them say that, because it's more I try to get in the worst position possible and then try to get out and show them. Because if I get in trouble, it's usually life or death, you know, in a submission position. So I'm not technically as sound in finishing submissions, but, you know, what I need to do once I get caught, I'm usually pretty good. So striking and jiu-jitsu has to come. It just had to come. You know, I had no choice. If I wanted to be a fighter, I need to be pretty mobile and everything. So, and then my wrestling, you know, when it falls back to it, when the fight gets hard, I can always fall back on that.
Hey, Joe, I just got one question to you. Speaking of anti-jiu-jitsu, I know last time we talked a little bit about catch wrestling when you were on the show, but I want to circle it back to the wrestling. We've had a debate with some of our guests on here, Joe, and I think you'd be a good person to ask, because we talk about power rankings of wrestlers, schools that produce wrestlers for MMA fighters, and a lot gets thrown out there. You know, OSU, Arizona State, Mizzou Tigers get thrown out there. But one of the colleges I throw out is Michigan, your alma mater. I don't feel that they get a lot of love. Could you maybe speak on that and maybe give us your power rankings, a top 3, a top 5, real quick, of the best wrestling schools that produce MMA fighters?
Well, yeah, and you just probably even the sport, you know, like freestyle or Greco-Roman, the difference. You know, if you look at Greco-Roman, we've got some killers. I mean, me, Dan, Randy, Heath, you know, Matt Linlin. I mean, we all came from the same room at the Olympic Training Center. While I was at the Olympic Training Center, Daniel Cormier, King Mo, me, Askren, Tyrone, everyone was there, you understand? So we were all training, and we all were watching Dan and everyone fight, and we just started doing that. But, you know, going back to your question, I'm not even sure what was the question again? You asked if the jiu-jitsu guys...
Yeah, which school you think produced maybe the best wrestlers? Which college?
Yeah, you know, that's funny to say that, the colleges. You know, University of Michigan, we've had people like Steve Fraser and things, but they're not fighters. I'm trying to think of the college that's actually producing the...
Because you guys had
You know, I don't think any of them are doing what they should. I mean, there's so many damn studs in those wrestling rooms. You know, as soon as... If we were more open-minded to try to bring some of those wrestlers into MMA, I think the sport gets better also. But I think Arizona State, like you said, has a bunch. Nebraska has been doing a few. I'm almost thinking like Hofstra, those guys out there, they're fighters in New York, and they're wrestlers also. So we'll see. I don't really know top 5.
All right, Joe. Well, hey, it's been a great catch-up, man. You said you got 2 fights left. When do you think will be the first of the 2?
Yeah, we're talking, me and Scott, we're talking to Scott Coker right now. So we're going to do two more finale fights, and should be fun. I'd like to fight on bigger cards, and, you know, try to go out in style here. You know, I got one fight, and I'll be on top of the leaderboard, so hopefully I can go out on top here. And, you know, I don't know. I mean, you never know what the future is here. I feel like I'm 100%. My wife's telling me it's time to get out, so we'll see what happens.
Please let us know the next time you're in Vegas. We'd love to have you in studio to talk more stories. That was some
no
good stories
problem.
you shared
Thank
from
you for having
Japan.
me.
All right, take care,
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right, we'll see you. That's Joe Warren. Follow him on Twitter at Joe Warren MMA. Let him know you heard him on the at MMA Junkie radio show. That's the baddest man on the planet right there. All right, guys, what do you want to do? Straight to Lara and then finish with a break, or you want to get that break while Danny connects Lara? I think we should do that one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. Quick break.
Yeah.
We'll connect with Alejandra Lara, the headliner for Bellator 201, which is coming up on June 29th. Stay close. We'll be right back.
charm, compassion, common sense. These guys have none of that. You listen to them, so you're no better. I am awesome, though. They are Gorgeous George and Goes.
All right, let's get right to it. We got our guest on hold. She will be challenging Ilima-Lei Macfarlane for the flyweight belt out at Bellator 201 in Temecula, California on June 29th. Her name is Alejandra Lara. She's 7-1. She's got 6 finishes in her 7 wins, 3 by KO and 3 by submission, and she's on the hotline right now. Hi, Alejandra. How are you?
Hi. Nice to meet you, to see, to listen to you. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, I'm glad we were able to connect. I know you're out in Mexico, but I know you're also from Colombia. Now, do you live in Mexico, or do you just do your training camp in Mexico?
Yes, I'm doing my training camp here in Guadalajara with the Team Grasso.
Oh, nice. Yep. So you have some good training partners there, Irene Aldana and Alexa Grasso, right?
Yeah, also we have a lot of tough girls who are fighting in Invicta and some big leagues from here, and me in Bellator.
Nice. All right. So let me ask you, are you ready to be a world champion here in about 2 weeks? The fight's coming up.
I'm ready.
You've had a great training camp.
Yes, I know. This is a big opportunity to show to the world what we have here in Latin America, what we have in Colombia, and we are working. I am working to get that belt.
Are you going to have a lot of friends and family that watch the fight in Colombia the night of June 29th? Will they be tuning in?
Yes, also I feel the support of every a lot of people here in South America, Latin America, and also in United States, and that's great.
These next 2 weeks could be big for Colombia. First, Japan on Tuesday the 19th, then Poland on Sunday the 24th, then Senegal on Thursday the 28th, and then Alejandra Lara versus Ilima-Lei Macfarlane on the 29th. I imagine you know I'm talking about the World Cup, right? Lots of good things happening for Colombia.
Yeah, I know. And it was unexpected, but I know I have the possibility, I have everything to get that belt right now.
That's awesome. All right. Let me send it over to the guys in Las Vegas. Goes and Dan, what do you have for Alejandra Lara, our guest?
Alejandra, if you look at your career, you had your loss kind of in the middle. Can you talk about bouncing back from that loss and what the biggest lesson you learned from the loss was?
Okay, that point when I lost that fight was one point where I wasn't very focused in my career. So I was doing a lot of different things, like all of my life, but that was the point that I said, okay, I have to be, I have to focus on this if I want. And I knew also that I had the skills to be good at this. I had a good preparation, and also I have never had a knockout or submission yet or something like that. So I know I'm tough and I have everything to be good at it in this sport, and that was the point that I decided to keep going and go forward.
Right on. Alejandra, let me also ask you about your diet. It says in your profile here you're a vegetarian. How long have you been vegetarian, and has that helped your training lifestyle? Have you noticed any differences?
So I'm vegetarian like 7 years ago, and I started like from little. I lived the red meat and then the chicken, and at the end the fish, and I just started knowing my own body. Everybody is different. Everyone needs different things, and I know my body works good like that. And I just eat a lot of vegetables, superfoods, mushrooms, and grains, and I feel very strong. Actually, I gain muscle faster than other girls and men that I know, and just knowing my body, and I feel it's easier for me to cut weight because maybe it's faster, my metabolism.
All right, we're talking to Alejandra Lara. She is in Guadalajara, Mexico, but in a couple weekends she'll be in California as she will be challenging Ilima-Lei Macfarlane for the flyweight title that Macfarlane holds at Bellator. It's Bellator 201. They are in the headline bout there on that card. She's 7-1 overall. Macfarlane's 7-0. So two very, very potent young ladies that will be fighting there in the main event. Alejandra can be followed on Twitter at Ale J Azul Lara. Well, it's kind of tricky there. It's ALEJAZULARA. So a couple of the letters there kind of bounce around, but I think you all get it. And it's great that we were able to communicate with you in English, Alejandra. That's very important, I think, for a lot of the international fighters to be able to speak English, and you speak English very well. So thank you for doing the interview. I'm glad we were able to catch up. I hope you have a safe training camp, safe travels to California, and we'll see you in a couple weeks at Bellator 201.
Thank you very much. See you later.
Okay, thank you for the time. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, folks, that is Alejandra Lara. Man, she's with a good squad there, huh? The Alexa Grasso and Irene Aldana. She said there's some other high-level females there, so that's a good camp they got going.
Yeah, that scene has definitely changed in the last couple of years, and it's good to see her with that camp.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and very important for her to be speaking English and being able to communicate and do media. Very happy to have her on. Want to give a big shout out to Hector Castro there for lining that one up. All right, guys, it's time for the daily debate. You guys ready?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, today's daily debate question brought to you by the MMA Junkie radio team. Here it goes. Despite his past results against John Jones, would Daniel Cormier become MMA's GOAT? That's the greatest of all time. If he beats heavyweight champ Stipe Miocic at UFC 226, yes or no? Dan, Tom, what do you think?
I'm gonna say no for a couple reasons. Not even so much like you said. Leaving the John Jones thing aside from it, we have seen champions attain two championships in multiple weight classes, but we haven't seen them sustain it. So if we can see him even sustain it just a little bit, I think that'll give DC the edge over in many categories as far as pound for pound, heavyweights, GOATs, however you want to label it. I think if he can sustain it after beating Stipe, that makes his case really strong, but we've seen people reach this mountaintop. I want to see someone stay there.
Goes?
I'm going to go with yes. I feel like what he did at light heavyweight and then what he did winning the Strikeforce Heavyweight Grand Prix and having victories over guys who have been champions in heavyweight champions in the UFC, like Frank Mir, Josh Barnett. If you add in Stipe Miocic, man, that's something really tough to do. It's not kind of like if you go from featherweight champion to lightweight champion, you're talking 10 pounds. Heavyweight, you're talking a big jump there. So for him to be successful in both, and the names that would be on that list, oh man, I would say yes.
Yeah, and I guess I'll be the tiebreaker here. It's a close one. Dan brought up a good point. I would love to see him, if he were to get past Stipe Miocic, have the one title defense of a UFC heavyweight belt. But if he does stick around, could it be that the UFC wants him to drop to light heavyweight and defend that belt? Eesh, that's where it gets tough. Now, Cormier has a timeline of retiring by March of 2019, so maybe he could even do one of each. I don't know, but as you get older, those camps get tougher, and you know how they roll over there at AKA. They go hard. Goes, you brought up a good point as well. Hey, he's kind of beaten some tough fighters over at the Strikeforce Heavyweight Grand Prix when Strikeforce Heavyweight stable was just as potent as the UFC, so that was huge for him. Along the way, he did defeat Josh Barnett and Frank Mir, two former UFC heavyweight champions. I believe he's either 10-0 or 12-0 as a heavyweight, so that's very respectable. He's got some real huge skins on the wall, including those two that I mentioned, Roy Nelson, Dan Henderson, Anthony Johnson twice, Anderson Silva, Alexander Gustafsson. He's got really a lot of great numbers. So what I want to know, though, is For those that disagree, because I'm going to say yes, he would be the GOAT. For those that disagree, would it even matter? I mean, if he defended the belt like 5-6 times at heavyweight, I think there's just a lot of people that love John Jones and don't love DC. You see what I'm saying? So I don't know that it would matter, but for those hardcore and purists like a Dan Tom, maybe it would. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But first, he's got to get past Stipe Miocic at UFC 201. Now, here's another thing that we can't forget. Miocic is kind of being regarded as the greatest heavyweight ever for some, or at least the greatest UFC heavyweight ever for some. So imagine to beat that guy on top of everything else you've done. It has to mean something, folks. Leave the hate aside and then give us an honest assessment. But I want to thank those that already participated. It was about 1,628 is what I'm seeing here. 65% said no. 35% said yes. But, man, this is a fun debate, and I think we should have it as we get close. Have it with others as well as we get closer to UFC 226. All right, folks. That's the Daily Debate brought to you by the MMA Junkie radio team. And now I want to thank everybody for the week, and then I'll send it over to the guys, see if they have any closing comments, because it is the last show of the week, and we will be back on Monday. I'll be back in Las Vegas. It should be a lot of fun. I do want to thank Colby Covington, Kerry Melendez, Jorge Masvidal, Dan Ige, Sam Alvey, Michael Trezano, Alonzo Menefield, Ramsey Nijem, Joe Warren, and Alejandra Lara. Shout out to myself for lining up the Warren interview. Goes lined up the Nijem interview, and Danny Oakers connected us finally with Alejandra Lara, so he gets kind of a fist bump from me, along with Hector Castro. All right, guys, any closing comments here? We got about a minute left. Fun week, right?
Yeah, it seems very, very, very cool guest list. I was thinking about that as you were saying it. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Go Peru, go Mexico in the World Cup, because the U.S. just didn't show up. And anything Dan Thomas say? Go, Dan.
Hey, I just want to give a shout out to one of our listeners on Twitter, Joey M at JDMMA0718. He's a supporter of our show, always chimes in on Twitter. Want to give him a shout.
Right on. All right. Goes, give me an update on Portugal versus Spain.
2-1 España.
Oh, really? Wow.
Oh, no, sorry, Portugal. Yes. My bad.
You couldn't even get that right, huh?
I know. Well, what do you want? They're real close.
21-0 Spain. Oh, my bad. 2-1 Portugal.
They're both right. Ronaldo goals, and, Ronaldo plays in Spain. So.
Michael Boyle, thanks to you, man. Danny Oakers, Dan, Goes, you guys are the greatest. We're out of here, folks. Go out there and be a champion.